This has been the craziest week I've ever seen about people having pure on NSDS. What does that stand for? Nintendo Switch Derangement Syndrome. I haven't seen people who have fallen from grace this fast, this hard, defending a company bootlicking as hard as they possibly can to a mirror shine Doug Bowser's actual feet. No, I'm serious. This really has been the craziest thing I've ever seen. Game journalists who you sworn were pro-consumer, would do everything right by you, that were totally against $70 games are now being like, $80 games are fine. It's Nintendo, I guess. Or people just totally 180ing their entire stance, trying to now say, well, PlayStation is doing a good thing because they're $70, not $80. This little handheld has caused more strife in the gaming industry than I've honestly ever seen, and it's not even out yet. And the thing is, the pricing on the games is going to get even worse. According to the Washington Post by Gene Park, he wrote an article with Doug Bowser, and this is what was said. Doug Bowser on Switch 2 game prices. What you see right there is variable pricing. We'll look at each game, really look at the development that's going into the game, the breadth and depth of the gameplay, if you will, the durability over time, and the repeatability of gameplay experiences. Those are all factors, and there's many more that go into consideration of what is the right price point for the game. So I think you can anticipate that there will be variable pricing, and we haven't set a benchmark. We haven't set a benchmark, says the guy who's literally named after the main villain in Mario games. They haven't set a benchmark for pricing, and there's variable pricing, which tells me one of two things. There will be games that are going to be cheaper than $70, and games are going to be more expensive than $80 because they know you're a simp and you're going to pay the Mario tax or the Zelda tax or the Smash Bros tax or the Kirby tax or whatever tax they want to put on it. Oh, we put ray tracing in this game, something that's been around since 2015? That's a $90 game. That's an $80 game. This is going to be absurd. Anybody falling for this garbage truly is going to be some of the dumbest people you've ever seen. And people saying things like, oh, inflation back in my day are people you should not listen to. But of course, as we've always pointed out with this kind of content, it in fact always does get worse. You see, because apparently PlayStation is sending out a survey to see how their users feel about the Switch 2. They're not sending out the survey about how they feel about the Switch 2, guys. I'm sorry to tell you that. What they're sending out the survey for is, will you spend $80 or more on our video games? That's what they're doing. You see why I was so against $70 games and $60 games? It wasn't because I'm broke or cheap or I got to get my money up. It's because I know what companies will do. Oh, they did it? We can do it too. And I guarantee you that's exactly what's going to happen, because every other company seeing this is saying, oh, Nintendo's doing it? Sick. I bet we can do it too. I bet we can charge $80 for our games. I bet the fourth remaster remake of Last of Us Part 1 can go for $90. Guarantee it, baby, because simps will buy it. And talk about simps buying anything, check this out. Yeah, according to VGC, physical copies of Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games are reportedly Nintendo Switch carts with download codes in the box. Yes! Physical media, everybody. Oh, I'll pay all this money for physical. I want a physical disc in my hand. I want the physical cartridge. Well, what you're going to be paying for is more money for the video game and getting less on the actual cartridge. You're going to be buying basically the Switch 1 version of the game, putting it in your Switch 2, and then having to punch in your little download code in order to go ahead and get the actual Switch 2 version when it should just do it automatically on its own. Variable pricing, other game companies wanting to charge the same pricing, and you no longer actually own the game on the proper cart. You now have to be connected online to download something that should be working for free when you actually plug it into your system. Do you think people would be upset at this? Do you think people would actually say something like, I'm not going to give you $80 of my hard-earned money? Well, You'd be surprised. Nutsy on Twitter says, I don't think $80 is too expensive for a video game. There's no way. Look, listen. $60 is too expensive for a video game. $50 is too expensive for a video game. I am honestly sick and tired of these clown people all over Twitter and YouTube and every other place being like, what's the matter? You don't want to give the billion-dollar company your money? No, I don't. They already get too much of it in the first place. I don't need to give them more of it. Look, bend over, touch your toes, and spread them like goatsy, my boy. Every single person that's talking about this, that is saying this, using inflation arguments, talking about, well, the market will bear it, they're all nothing but corporate bootlicking cucks such as yourself, Nutsy. I am glad that you're sitting there and almost getting ratioed 1K responses to 2K likes. 6.6 million views, by the way. Imagine telling everybody on the internet you are nothing more than a corporate than anything else on the face of the earth because you want to give a company more money because they have your nostalgia by the balls. And if you think this one's bad, you haven't seen anything yet, because this tweet is something to behold. Yeah, no. Yeah, this is This is a whole other level. This is an entirely new thing that I was not expecting to see. Look, even if you don't like the current sitting president, you're not going to sit here and be like, well, if his save file was deleted in Minecraft, you would actually spend less money on your Nintendo Switch 2, which honestly isn't even true because apparently the cost of the Switch 2 was factored in before the tariffs even actually hit. Tails guy, I hope the federal agents knocking at your door right now have a couple of questions to ask you, because clearly this is going to be beyond the level of what people actually are expecting to do with the derangement syndrome of the Switch itself. And look, 25 million views, 297,000 likes. Twitter is not a real place. Twitter doesn't exist. These are the people on Twitter saying like this. This is what they're saying. Deleting save files because they think it'll make companies charge less money for a plastic box. But you see, the funny thing is it doesn't end there, because our classic corporate bootlicker Reforged Gaming decided to go ahead and throw his hat into the ring recently, talking about the prices and cost of video games. And when you hear what this guy has to say, it is phenomenally shocking how somebody who sits there and begs for memberships every single day has the audacity and the gumption to tell you how much you should be spending on video games directly. No, I didn't stutter. Get ready for it.
I have never defended the increases. You guys that are so unable to hear cold hard facts that you bedwet and say, Lono, there goes Reforged Gaming corporate shill defending price increases. I've not defended them. I have simply said we should have expected this. We've been riding really nice for a long time on an almost static video game price for 30 years. That's unheard of. I'm just speaking facts, right? Like, change your bed sheets and get over it. Like, this just happens. Are we going to really talk about tech price increases of video games and act like this is oh my gosh, this is such a problem? Look at the cost of, video cards. Look at the cost of, like, trying to build a PC right now. We had static video game prices for, like, 30 years. All I have said is, we should have expected this. I'm not defending it and saying, leave Nintendo alone. I'm saying, listen, we've been eating real good as gamers for a really long time. This was coming at some point. It was coming. There was no way it wasn't going to happen.
This is my favorite argument that I've been seeing recently by Reforged Gaming, by the way. He's not defending the price increases, but what he's telling you is it's going to happen. So instead of actually getting angry about it, voicing your opinion, and not buying the actual product, what you need to do is be a good corpo shill, and if you want to play the game, give them the money. They're going to ransom you for it is what's going to happen. So stop wetting your bed and change your sheets. Look, we haven't been riding high high for 30 years about the prices of video games. That is clearly not the case at all. What's been happening is we've been sitting at $60 until recently because every other company has been now charging you full of microtransactions to actually buy the game. Oh wait, we're just going to ignore that altogether? Hey, no, you're only spending $60 to buy the game, guy, so it's not that bad. 80's not that bad from 60. What's the difference? The difference is when you were paying $60, you had tons of microtransactions in every single $60 game. You also had games that if you bought used had an online access pass you had to give $10 to $15 on to access the online component of that game, which they love to put in there as well. Let's not forget the horse armor on top of that to shut off the whole thing about this entirely. So, $5 for horse armor? That's not bad. We'll just make $1 billion when you already paid 60 for it in the first place. Look, it got so bad with Dragon Age Origins, they were putting literal NPCs inside of Dragon Age Origins that would give you a quest on the Xbox 360 and PC versions, by the way, that if you talk to that NPC in the game and you didn't have the DLC in your actual purchase catalog or account, they would take you to the store page of Xbox, of EA or what have you, to make you buy the DLC after you've already bought the game for $60 to have access to this quest and then go ahead and finish the game completely. So you weren't even getting a full game when you bought it for $60. You were getting an incomplete game that was piecemealed to you and then cut away and stripped to sell back to you for $80 to $90 to $100. That's what this clown doesn't get. They've already been charging you $100 for video games. They were just telling you you're going to pay us for the game, and then you're going to pay us again to play the game. So you bought the game, congrats, now you got to pay us to play it because it's not the complete game, which is why everybody was making the meme of, I'm just going to wait for the Game of the Year edition to come out complete with all the DLC for the actual price of what the game should have been in the first place, $50 or $60. Not this. Not what we had to deal with so far, and we're still dealing with it because right now games are $70 and you're still dealing with DLCs, microtransactions, and all the other bullshit added onto it. How you can be so anti-consumer right off the bat is insane to me. To talk about like, you've only been paying $60 for 30 years, it's been stagnant. With the reality is now it's gotten even worse because not only do we have to do that with that in the past, but now we're getting early access editions for $100. Play the game 3 days early if you give me 100 buckaroonies. Like, bro, come on. They're literally nickel and diming you at every chance, and you're being like, and you're folded over, and you're rolling over, letting them walk on top of you because you want to give them $80 instead of 60 when you don't realize that they're.
I have simply said this should have been something that you expected eventually. I was buying cartridges in the 90s for my Super Nintendo for anywhere from $60 to $90. They were more expensive back then. According to inflation, we were buying video games for about $100, sometimes more, $120, depending on the game, according to inflation. Like, we've been sitting at 60, and they just bumped it to 70, sure, but 60 to 70 is still insane. That's just insane that it's barely moved. Look at the cost of movies. Homie, when I worked at Best Buy, and people would come in and buy VHSs and DVDs back in the 2000s. I started working at Best Buy like 2001, I think. I worked there for like 2 years maybe. Homie, movies were so much cheaper. Go to Target now when a brand new Blu-ray comes out. It's like $30. It's like $30.
How you can be so illiterate and completely misinformed about the cost of video games back then to today is honestly ridiculous to me. Let's go to the beginning of this entire argument, shall we? The whole back in my day, when I was old, I'm old enough too, I've got the grays in my beard to prove it, I also had to buy games as cartridges, and I know how expensive they were because I was that dummy in the Florida heat mowing lawns until the sun came down to try and afford a couple of games myself. The thing is, though, we had a thing back then when we knew games were expensive, but this thing gave us the ability to in fact go around and play multiple games for a couple of days out of the week, and it was inexpensive to do so because it only cost a couple of bucks every time you wanted to get that thing. It was called Blockbuster, and you could rent your video games, and you weren't tied to an account on the actual game service. You didn't have an online access pass. You could simply just rent the game for a couple of days, decide if you like it. If you like it, you would save up your money, that you would then buy the game afterwards, and then go from there. And let's not add to the fact that not only was renting a very big ubiquitous thing because of the fact that games are so expensive, also the fact that these games are literally computer parts and boards that were then manufactured, that were then plastic sealed, that were put into actual carts and then put into cardboard boxes that had a full manual. Sometimes it was even colored, that was then shipped overseas and then put onto the shelf. So you had full on manufacturing, logistical issues, and then all the other things that happen in between for increasing the cost of the actual product. It wasn't like today where 80% of all games are digitally downloaded and they're all ones and zeros. You don't actually own them, and the only cost is to run the servers from the actual company, and those things are running on hamsters on a wheel, for Christ's sake. To sit here and be like, it's only moved a little bit, you guys, from 60 to 70. It's not that much. It's $10 more. It's $20 more than it was just 10 years ago. And now it's going to be another $10 on top of that. So we're nearly almost, 30% increase from the year 2000, etc., all the way until now. That's a ridiculous increase, not to mention the actual microtransactions, early access passes, online passes, all the DLC that's attached to it, and then having the Game of the Year editions come out a year later when everything is actually fixed and fine for the proper price of the game, like I said before. But no, you're not defending it. You're not defending it. You're just sweeping the criticism to the side because you want to be a good little consumer as you're sitting there with a member goal on a daily basis, begging for memberships from other people because you don't know how to actually budget yourself correctly. If you actually had a value of a fucking dollar, you would realize, hey, I shouldn't be happy about this. I shouldn't be expecting this. I should be angry and upset, just like my viewers are angry and upset. But no. Good old Reforged, a little corpo slave more than anybody I've ever seen. But it continues.
Your cost as a consumer to game has gone down significantly compared to when I was gaming as a kid on Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. The cost to buy a game has gone down. Do you know what hasn't gone down? Size, scope, quality. Like, look at this game right here, Breath of the Wild. An enormous game. Hundreds of hours of potential playtime out of this game. Compare this to Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. This game is cheaper and bigger. The consumer spends less and gets more from Breath of the Wild compared to the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past was more expensive for me to buy. Again, according to inflation, that much money back then was a lot more money. Like this cartridge costing me 60 to 70, I don't even know how much it was. It was way more expensive back then. That was like dropping $100 on a video game, okay?
I don't think Reforged understands video games because clearly he has no idea what he's talking about. It is exponentially, in fact, just as expensive or even more expensive to play games and buy games today than it was even back then. Oh, let's plot some facts for you, shall we? If you're looking at what's going on today, you can actually see with Breath of the Wild, the game launched at a $60 MSRP. If you wanted the expansion pass to go with it to have all of the content, that's an extra $20. So you're looking at an $80 video game to have all the content 7 to 8 years ago when that game released. So you're not getting the same game that you were when you bought it. You're buying a game to have access to buy more stuff for that game. It is not the same. Because if you were to go off ahead and say, hey, we're looking back and saying, oh, games are $80, $90 back then with inflation put together. So guess what? You're still spending $80 to $90 today, right now, with all the DLCs, early access, and all the other bullshit attached onto it. It's not cheaper today. It's just as expensive, if not more. The difference is there's no variance of how people can actually go around to not spend that extra money. Game Pass is the last thing left. And you're trying to compare A Link to the Past and Breath of the Wild. I would hope after 30 plus years of actual innovation and content creation that maybe Breath of the Wild would be a little bit bigger than Link to the Past was, seeing as that one was 16-bit. The other one is basically just on a super powered PC compared to the Super Nintendo. It's a horrible argument to make. They're vastly different games from vastly different decades. You're not going to sit there and compare the two like a moron. This goes back to the old stupid Adam Sessler quote that he made recently, where he felt that Skyrim should have been $100 because of how much time you put into the game. Why? The time I put into the game has nothing to do with the amount of cost that the game is actually asking of me. And at the same time, if a developer can't figure out how to manage their cost or development time or pipeline or scope or anything else, that's their problem, not mine. Why do I have to pay for their inability to budget? This guy is so obsessed with being such a good corporate consumer? It's honestly wild to me. Reforge, they're not going to take you out to dinner to wine dine you and you. They're just going to keep talking about your wallet and trying to prolapse it consistently. You're literally doing nothing. Being a good consumer isn't a good thing for you. It's a good thing for the companies. You're just a number to them. How do you not get this?
I am not trying to change your opinion and say, oh, you should buy Nintendo games at $80. I'm not trying to do that, right? I'm not. I'm simply trying to inform your opinion, right? Being upset and being all wound up about this, I'm trying to inform you that, like, we've been getting such a great deal for such a long time, and the truth is, this is the truth. You don't have to agree, but this is the truth. We're still getting a better deal today than we did back then. Mario Kart for $80 is still a better deal than when we bought a Super Nintendo Mario Kart cartridge back in the day. I'm spending less money. Okay? Cost of living, average annual income, $80 today is less money than it was in the 90s when we bought Mario Kart back then. And I don't even have to bet. I know for a fact that Mario Kart World is 1,000 times bigger than Super Nintendo's Mario Kart. More players, more karts, more playability. It's the game is freaking massive.
I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out. This dude is the biggest mark I've honestly ever seen. Oh, if you compare a game today to a game that's like 30 plus years old, you know, the deal you're getting is actually really good. No, Sherlock, I want you to keep digging, Watson. How do you even come to that analogy or conclusion? Yes, a game I play on the NES compared to a game I get today. I would hope it would be better. I would hope it would have better graphics. I would hope it would be huge, because it's been 3+ decades since the last game it came out that you're trying to compare it to. That's like saying like, oh, a 5090 is a better value than a 580. I would hope so. I would hope so. That doesn't mean the 5090 is worth $2,000. What are we talking about? This is ridiculous. I don't care about the past. I care about right now. I care about how much I'm spending right now. And right now, the value isn't there for me as a consumer to spend $80. It was back then when I owned the game, when the game was complete. It was actual chip. It came in a box with a manual, and it was done. Today, I got to connect online, download a patch, download 2 patches, get an expansion pass. Make sure to buy the microtransaction, get the skin for your game. Make sure you get in the shop first. Did you get your expansion pass yet? You know, it's a single-player game, but we put a microtransaction shop in there because we want to be able to convert your money into coins and take the coins and make you buy things, but then you have leftover coins, so you can't buy things, anything else, so you got to put more money into it to then buy more coins and then put more things in there to keep buying stuff. Did you buy it? 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 Dude, what are we talking about here? But it gets better, because somebody made a tweet. Legendary Drops tweeted this out. Nobody gives a shit about inflation. Nobody gives a shit about what $50 was worth 10 years ago. They care about how much $80 is to them today. And to a lot of people, that's too much. Genuinely, shut the f*** up. And Legendary Drops is 100% right. I don't care what inflation was 10 years ago or 20 years ago, or how much money I got 50 years ago to what I'm spending today. 50 years ago. $50 was 30 years ago to what I'm spending today. I care about what games cost right now. The price of yesterday is not today's price. What is that saying? Yesterday's price is not today's price. That's what it is. Let me try that again. Yesterday's price is not today's price. That's the problem. But everybody wants to go ahead and talk about the past when they're looking down the barrel right now and not realizing they're getting put over an actual barrel with their hands behind their hips spread wide open. But Reforged couldn't contain himself now, could he? No, he could not. Reforged then replies with this. So nobody cares about facts? Shouldn't facts inform opinions and views? I'm not defending price hikes, but seeing how good we had it with an almost 30-year static price point while games get bigger and bigger is worth noting. Compare The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past to Tears of the Kingdom, and Tears of the Kingdom is factually cheaper according to inflation and probably 100 times bigger, expansive and innovative. We've been paying less for bigger and sometimes arguably better games, and I think it is a helpful perspective. No, Reforge, no, this is not what's happening. No, you're not giving a helpful perspective. You're not talking with facts. You are literally defending the cost of what games are and what they're trying to be. Because what you're doing is you're not trying to inform opinions and views. You're trying to change ideas. And you're trying to say, hey, look, you guys, the thing is, look at all these other things that are going on. So give the company your money. Like, come on, guys. It's like, they've earned your money. You know what I mean? Like, how much were you spending back then and how much are you getting now? And it's like, it's like way cheaper to like buy your video games right now at full price and then buy DLCs, microtransactions, and everything else all together. But just keep buying it. Just keep buying it. Bro, you have to have stock in these companies. There's no way around it, my guy. The fact that you're talking about this still to this day and you're trying to defend the price hikes and increases, I need to know, where is the line for you? Or even if there is a line for you. I don't think there is one. I think you're the kind of guy who'll be more than happy and justifying himself to spend $100 plus on a video game. I guarantee you're that guy. I guarantee you're that guy. There's no other way around it. You have to be that dude. You are the mark among marks. I bet you walk into a car dealership and every salesman starts salivating. It's just a Pavlovian dog response when you walk in because they know this big-headed buffoon is going to walk around and want the most expensive thing he can possibly afford or can't afford and then ask himself, how did I get into all this debt that I got to now beg for members on my streams for? Ridiculous. But you see, Legendary Drops, in fact, found Reforge's tweet and quote tweeted and said, no, they don't. The only fact people care about is what is in their wallet and the price tag on the game. It's, can I afford this? Not pseudo-intellectual monologuing to justify economic conditions behind a price. I can't believe point of sale is such a foreign concept. Oh, God! Legendary Drops literally called Reforge out for exactly what it is. Pseudo-intellectual monologuing. I couldn't do that better myself. LD, my boy, hats off to you, bro. The fact that you wouldn't even interact with the guy and you know exactly what he was trying to do. You knew exactly what he was trying to say, and you called it flat out in front of everybody. I couldn't be prouder. I couldn't be proud. Oh, it feels so good. It feels good. Look, here's the thing. I don't know why the Nintendo Switch derangement syndrome is happening right now, or why everybody is on their last leg trying to defend the price of a video game company that they enjoyed back in the 90s and 2000s. If you are sitting here and saying like, $80 is fine, this is a good price for games, I'm okay with that. You are in a better position than many other people. But honestly though, I have a feeling you're probably not. Because from what I've researched, the amount of people actually buying video games, depending upon their annual income, is in fact split pretty evenly across the board. Even if you're high income, medium, or low income, we're all spending the same, which goes to show that a lot of people who are buying games truly can't afford games. And there is no other alternative for people to actually buy their games or even play them right now besides Game Pass, which really goes to show that Xbox right now is being the most pro-consumer company to provide more games to more people. Instead of squeezing more out of the actual consumer and customer, they're just saying we'll just get more consumers and customers, which is honestly the right call to make. Nintendo knows that they can make bank off of any IP they put out that has their name and logo on it. The thing is though, this is just pure greed right off the bat, just like PlayStation was doing the exact same thing with $70 games, increasing the price of consoles, increasing the cost of their online service, and giving you nothing back as a consumer and customer. We're on the path to not having any more physical media. So the cost of games should be going down, not the opposite direction of increasing in cost. If I don't own the product, if I only rent the license, and I then have to use your download internet service to pay for it, and then buy the game itself, and then buy more garbage inside of that game to actually have the full complete product, then there's no point to even buying it. Because I don't have any of those things. I don't own it. I don't physically own it. It's not owned by me. I rent a license. and then I gotta buy more shit? It's almost like games shouldn't cost this much in the first place, but yet customers and consumers and other people who are so full of nostalgia still feel that way, like they need to give this company money. Nintendo could price their games at $40 and they would sell even more copies and have even more consumers and have even more sales and they make even more money, even though the price would be less because simply on their name alone. But they're choosing not to because they're betting on your nostalgia and they're betting on the fact that they're greedier than you and they know you're going to pay it because you're a pay pig if you're behind this kind of thing. So look, when games hit $80 consistently, when games hit $90 consistently, when they're $100, and if GTA 6 hits $100, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say, I told you so. So ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys think about this in today's video, because if you liked it, thank you. And if you didn't like it, fuck you. If you want to see more of this kind of content, more fanboy videos like this, gaming news, my hot takes on the gaming industry, PC port reviews, Steam Deck videos, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 80,000 subscribers. And I just want to say thank you guys so very much. Now, if you want Discord access and emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. I have free emotes for all users. You can download Better TTV emotes on your browser and have access to free emotes during streams there. And also the community is incredibly generous and they gift memberships all the time. So just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. Believe me, you'll have a great time. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time. Peace!
It's time to stop. It's time to stop. Okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop. Okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life? This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? Just stop. Just stop. Stop. No. Just stop. You're a fucking idiot. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? You need to stop everything. What are you doing with your life? This is not okay. This needs to stop now. This is cancer. It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? It's time to stop. It's time to stop, okay? No more. Where the fuck are your parents? Just stop. Just stop. Stop. No.